Today we're checking into some of the scariest places with 7 horror stories involving hotels. Get ready to hear chilling stories about haunted rooms, endless hallways, and guests who never checked out. So, sit back, make sure your bedroom door is securely locked, and let this spine-chilling journey begin. Oh, and before any mysterious guests appear, take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and leave your like. This really helps the channel and ensures you don't miss out on any terrifying content like this. Let's go. Room 217. The Hotel Bellevue case was documented by the Montreal police as one of the most disturbing incidents involving hotel security. In the city's recent history, the events of those 3 days were reconstructed from survivor testimony, forensic evidence, and hotel security records. Rebecca Chen, a 34-year-old marketing executive, arrived at the Hotel Bellevue for a business conference. Traveling alone, as she often did, she requested a quiet room away from the elevators. The receptionist, after consulting the system, offered him room 217 with a discreet smile. One of our best rooms for executive guests. Very private. The room was spacious and elegant, with a view of the historic center. Rebecca noticed just one odd detail, a large built-in closet whose depth seemed inconsistent with the exterior wall. "I thought it was just a peculiar design," he later reported. The first night, she was startled awake by the sound of footsteps in the hallway, followed by a subtle creak coming from the closet. When he investigated, he found nothing unusual, although he had the unsettling feeling that the air inside the closet was warmer, as if someone had been there moments before. The next morning, during breakfast, Rebecca observed the hotel manager, Mr. Moreau, a middle-aged man with impeccable manners, closely observing the solitary guests. When their eyes met, he smiled and asked if everything was okay in room 217. "I hope you slept well," he said. "That room has special features." Intrigued by the strange emphasis, Rebecca decided to take a closer look at the closet. Removing the hanging clothes and pressing on the inner walls, he discovered a panel that moved slightly. With effort, he managed to slide it out, revealing a narrow, dark passage. "My instinct said to close immediately and change rooms," said Rebecca. "But my professional curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to understand what was happening." Using his cell phone's flashlight, he briefly explored the hallway, discovering that it branched off in several directions, with small openings in the walls, some clearly positioned to offer views into other rooms. In a small alcove, he found a notebook with detailed notes about guests, mainly women traveling alone, schedules, habits when they took sleeping pills, and disturbing assessments such as suitable or not suitable. Disturbed, Rebecca quickly returned to the room, closed the panel, and requested a change of room, citing problems with the air conditioning. At the front desk, the clerk seemed confused. "Mr. Moreau usually handles room 217 personally. He insists that any problems be reported directly to him." That night, in her new room, Rebecca researched the Bellevue Hotel and discovered a disturbing pattern. In the past 5 years, 3 women had disappeared after staying at the hotel. In each case, investigations concluded that the guests had checked out normally, although none were seen leaving. Determined to obtain proof, Rebecca discreetly contacted a friend from the conference, and together they sought hotel security, deliberately avoiding the manager. The head of security, visibly uncomfortable, admitted there were rumors about old passages of the original hotel, built in the 1920s, but denied knowledge of any current use. With the reluctant cooperation of security, they accessed recordings from the hallway cameras from the past few days. The images revealed something disturbing. On 3 different occasions, Moreau entered empty rooms, carrying a small medical bag, stayed for about 20 minutes, and left alone. That's when we realized we needed to involve the police, Rebecca said. The police investigation revealed the true extent of the horror. The Hotel Bellevue, renovated several times over the decades, maintained a network of original service corridors now hidden in the walls. Moreau, manager for 15 years, had adapted these passages to observe guests in specific rooms, mainly 217, but also others on the same floor. At his home, police found evidence linking him to the disappearance of 7 women over the past 10 years. Rebecca's notebook was just one of several in which she meticulously documented her potential victims, selecting them based on specific criteria. Women traveling alone, with no local connections, with multi-day reservations. Moreau's method was calculated. After observing and selecting a victim, he used the passages to enter the room at night, sedated the guest, and removed her through the service corridors to the underground parking lot. Security cameras strategically for Rebecca Chen. The experience permanently transformed her relationship with business travel. The most disturbing thing, she reflected during the trial, was realizing how vulnerable we are in places we assumed safe. That closet, that hidden door. They were there in plain sight, but no one questioned it. The case led to a review of hotel safety regulations across the province of Quebec, with new requirements for regular inspections of unused areas and thorough background checks on employees with access to rooms. And for the thousands of solo travelers who stay in hotels around the world, the story of Room 217 serves as a grim reminder that sometimes the walls that protect us can hide secret passages and watchful eyes with deadly intentions. Room service. The Imperial Hotel case was documented by the Czech National Police as one of the most disturbing incidents involving organ trafficking in recent Central European history. The events of those 5 days were reconstructed from survivors' statements, forensic evidence, and hotel records. Michael and Sarah Donovan, an American couple from Chicago, arrived in Prague to celebrate their 10th wedding anniversary. They chose the Hotel Imperial, a historic establishment in the city center, attracted by its Art Nouveau architecture and reputation for excellence. Since checking in, they noticed small quirks. The receptionist asked unusually detailed questions about his daily plans and return times to the hotel. "We need to know to optimize room service," he explained with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. As he handed over the keys, he commented, "You guys look really healthy. You're going to love our food." On the second day, Sarah noticed that her toothbrush had been moved. Michael noticed that his watch, left on the bedside table, was elsewhere. "Initially, we blamed ourselves," Sarah later reported. "Maybe we were tired and didn't remember where we left things." The situation became more disturbing when, during breakfast, they heard 2 employees arguing in Czech without realizing that Sarah partially understood the language. "They're perfect. The doctor's coming tomorrow," she captured, before the staff noticed her attention and moved away. That night, when they returned from a walk, they found the maid still in the room, even though it was after 10 p.m. She seemed startled, quickly explaining that she was finalizing the tidying up. Michael noticed that she kept something in her uniform pocket. After leaving, the couple discovered 2 glasses of wine and a bottle on the table, with a card, courtesy of the hotel. Sarah, suspicious, suggested that they not drink. "Something's not right here," she insisted. Investigating the room further, Michael found a small camera hidden in the lamp. Upon examining the bathroom, Sarah discovered needle marks on her toothbrushes, as if something had been injected into them. Alarmed, but afraid of attracting attention, they decided to pretend normality. They threw away the wine, washed the brushes, and placed towels over the lampshades. During the night, they took turns keeping watch. Around 3 a.m., they heard the discreet sound of a key in the lock. The door opened silently, and 2 figures entered, a hotel employee and an unknown man carrying a medical bag. Michael, pretending to be asleep, half opened his eyes and saw the man preparing a syringe. In one swift movement, Sarah turned on the light while Michael confronted the invaders. In the confusion that ensued, the man with the suitcase fled, but they managed to stop the hotel employee. Locking him in the bathroom, the couple contacted the American embassy and local police. The subsequent investigation revealed a sophisticated scheme operating at the Imperial Hotel for at least 2 years. The hotel carefully selected healthy foreign guests, preferably couples or small groups, who would not arouse immediate suspicion if one of them suddenly fell ill. Victims were drugged while they slept, through complimentary drinks, contaminated hygiene products, or directly applied sedatives. Once unconscious, they were taken to a modified area in the hotel's basement where a clandestine medical team removed organs, usually a kidney, which could be removed leaving the victim alive. The organs were quickly transported to private clinics in neighboring countries. Victims woke up confused, with abdominal pain explained as food poisoning or local virus. The hotel offered medical assistance through partner doctors who administered painkillers and advised rest, masking the true post-operative symptoms. When the victims finally sought adequate medical care in their home countries, the connection with the hotel was rarely established. Police have identified at least 23 confirmed cases of non-consensual organ removal linked to the hotel, although the true number is likely higher. The scheme involved hotel employees, unlicensed doctors and middlemen connected to the black market for organs in Eastern Europe. For Michael and Sarah Donovan, the experience permanently transformed their outlook on international travel. The most disturbing thing, Michael reflected during the trial, was realizing how vulnerable we were. We were literally sleeping while they valued us like merchandise. The case led to a review of hotel security regulations across the European Union, with new requirements for employee vetting and room access protocols. It also exposed flaws in the monitoring systems for illegal medical tourism and organ trafficking in the region. And for the thousands of tourists who visit Prague annually, the story of room service serves as a grim reminder that sometimes the real threat comes not from street muggers or obvious scammers, but from professional smiles and offers of courtesy. At seemingly respectable establishments, the Hotel Imperial remains closed as investigations continue, with its elegant Art Nouveau exterior now linked to one of the most macabre criminal schemes in the Czech Republic's recent history. The annual conference, the Redwood Valley Hotel case, was documented by the FBI as one of the most disturbing incidents involving mass disappearances in recent California history. The events of those 5 days were reconstructed from the testimony of the sole survivor, hotel records, and forensic evidence. Marcus Chen, a 38-year-old technology executive, arrived at the imposing Redwood Valley Hotel for the annual Technology Innovation Conference, an event that brought together CEOs and directors from the sector's leading companies. The hotel, a Victorian structure secluded among the centuries-old redwoods of Sonoma County, was known for its exclusivity and discretion. From the beginning, something seemed out of place, Marcus later reported. Staff were overly attentive to our movements, always asking about our plans and schedules. The conference brought together 23 executives from different parts of the country. On the first night, during the welcome dinner, the hotel manager, Mr. Blackwood, gave a peculiar toast. May this week be transformative for everyone. Some of you will never be the same. The next morning, the first absence was noticed. Richard Keller, CEO of a promising startup, didn't show up for breakfast. When questioned, Mr. Blackwood casually explained that Keller had received an emergency call in the early hours of the morning and had to leave in a hurry. It happens every year, he commented with a smile. Busy executives, emergencies always popping up. On the second day, 2 more participants did not attend the sessions. Again, the manager informed them that they had left due to urgent commitments. Marcus noticed something strange. None of them had said goodbye or sent messages to the group, and their cars were still in the parking lot. "We started joking about Hotel Bermuda gobbling up executives," Marcus said. Nobody took it seriously. On the third night, Marcus woke with a start to muffled sounds coming from the hallway. When he peeked through the door, he saw 2 hotel employees carrying a body wrapped in sheets. He recognized the Italian shoes that belonged to Michael Foster, with whom he had spoken hours before. Distraught, Marcus locked himself in his room and tried to call the police, but discovered there was no cell phone signal, and the room phone was mysteriously disconnected. He decided to investigate on his own, waiting until dawn to move. In the hotel library, he found an old book forgotten on an armchair. Rituals of the Forest, The Path to Transcendence. Leafing through it, he discovered notes in the margins mentioning the annual conference and the selection of the worthy. An underlined passage read, "The sacrifice of those who succeed fuels the growth of those who remain." More alarmingly, Marcus found a list of the names of conference attendees with check marks next to some, including all those who had left early. His own name was circled for that night. Determined to escape, Marcus tried to leave discreetly, through the back door, but was intercepted by Mr. Blackwood. "We can't let you go now, Mr. Chen," said the manager with disturbing calm. "The ceremony is about to begin, and you have been specially selected for this year." Marcus managed to temporarily escape, hiding in the woods surrounding the hotel. It was there, watching from afar, that he witnessed a terrifying scene. Staff and some non-conference guests gathered in a circle wearing dark robes, while Mr. Blackwood conducted a ritual in front of a huge owl statue. "The cremation of care is about to begin," Blackwood announced. "May this year's sacrifices bring prosperity to our endeavors." With horror, Marcus recognized several prominent faces among those taking part in the ritual. Politicians, CEOs of large corporations, influential figures he had only seen in magazines and the news. Everyone watched as a body was brought to the center of the circle. Taking advantage of the distraction from the ritual, Marcus managed to get to his car and escape along the winding road. He drove for hours until he found a cell phone signal and contacted authorities. The subsequent investigation revealed the true nature of the Redwood Valley Hotel. For decades, the establishment had served as a front for a secret cult made up of members of the business and political elite. Annually, under the guise of legitimate conferences, the group selected victims for their rituals, carefully choosing people whose disappearance could be easily explained and who did not have strong family connections. Records found at the hotel documented similar rituals dating back to 1997, with detailed lists of participants and selected over the years. Authorities identified patterns of... For Marcus Chen, the experience permanently transformed his view of power structures. The most disturbing thing, he reflected during the trial, was realizing that these people weren't just occasional participants. It was an organized network, operating in plain sight, using its influence to cover up decades of disappearances. The case has led to a wider investigation into elitist groups and their exclusive retreats, revealing unsettling connections between powerful figures and shady practices carried out away from the public eye. And for the thousands of executives who attend conferences in isolated locations every year, the story of the annual conference serves as a grim reminder that sometimes, behind the facade of professional networking and innovation, much older and more sinister traditions can hide. The Redwood Valley Hotel has been permanently closed, but rumors persist that the cult simply moved locations, continuing its practices in another equally isolated and exclusive place. What's up, guys? Hotel horror stories are chilling even now, aren't they? If you're enjoying these scary stories, how about taking a quick stop and subscribing to the channel? Just click the sign up button below and take the opportunity to leave your like too. This really helps the channel grow and motivates me to continue bringing you more terrifying content like this. It's quick and makes all the difference. Now, shall we get back to our hotel horror stories? There's still a lot of fear ahead. 4. The presidential suite, the Nakamura family's case, was documented by the South Korean National Police as one of the most disturbing incidents involving illegal surveillance at luxury hotels in the country's recent history. The events of those 4 days were reconstructed from victim statements, forensic evidence, and hotel security records. Prominent Japanese technology entrepreneur Hiroshi Nakamura, his wife Yuki, and their 2 teenage children arrived at the prestigious Grand Palace Hotel for a week's vacation in Seoul. As VIP clients, they were accommodated in the presidential suite, a luxurious 200-meter space on the top floor with panoramic views of the city. Everything seemed perfect at first, Hiroshi later reported. The manager, Mr. Park, welcomed us personally, insisting that any needs be communicated directly to him. On the second day of their stay, Akira, their 16-year-old son, noticed something strange while charging his laptop. There was interference with the Wi-Fi signal whenever I approached certain parts of the room, he explained. Curious, the teenager took a closer look at the surrounding objects and discovered a small lens camouflaged inside the digital alarm clock on the bedside table. Alarmed, Akira showed his father the discovery. Together, they discreetly inspected the suite and found 5 more hidden devices, in air vents, behind pictures, embedded in electrical outlets, in the bathroom hairdryer holder, and even inside the TV. They were tiny professional cameras, strategically positioned to capture every angle of the bedrooms and bathrooms, Hiroshi described. Some had remote zoom and pan capabilities. Rather than immediately confront management, the family decided to investigate on their own. Akira, using his computer skills, managed to trace the signal from the cameras to a server within the hotel itself. The transmissions were being sent somewhere underground. The next morning, while the family supposedly went out for a walk, Hiroshi and Akira discreetly returned and followed a maintenance worker as he entered a restricted area near the underground parking lot. Through a door marked electrical maintenance, they glimpsed a sophisticated studio with multiple monitors displaying live images from several of the hotel's suites, including theirs. Even more disturbing, they observed Mr. Park and another man arguing while watching the recordings, commenting on the guests and selecting specific excerpts. On one wall was a list of subscribers with substantial amounts associated with each name. I realized it wasn't just us, Hiroshi said. It was a systematic operation targeting VIP guests, especially families and couples. Armed with photographic evidence taken discreetly with their cell phones, the Nakamuras contacted the National Police directly, avoiding any hotel staff. The response was immediate and discreet. The police investigation revealed the true extent of the scheme. Mr. Park, in collaboration with the hotel owner, had established a surveillance network that had been operating for at least 3 years. The recordings were edited and made available through an exclusive website, with access restricted to subscribers who paid thousands of dollars monthly. The target audience was mainly wealthy men from various Asian countries, including executives, politicians, and entertainment figures. Content was categorized by guests' nationality, age, and type of activity, with premium prices for recordings of couples and families in intimate moments. Authorities discovered that the scheme was not limited to the Grand Palace Hotel. The same group operated at least 5 other luxury establishments in Seoul using similar technology. It is estimated that more than 1,600 guests were filmed without consent, including international celebrities and political figures. For the Nakamura family, the experience left deep psychological scars. The most disturbing thing, Yuki reflected, was realizing that our most private moments were being marketed as entertainment. The violation goes beyond the physical. It's as if our dignity has been stolen. The case sparked international outrage and led to a complete review of security policies at luxury hotels across Asia. In South Korea, where spy cam cases were already a serious social problem, with more than 6,400 incidents reported in 2017, new legislation was proposed establishing more severe penalties for crimes of digital voyeurism. Mr. Park and 3 accomplices were arrested and faced charges that could result in up to 7 years in prison. The hotel owner fled the country before the police operation and remains at large, possibly in a country without an extradition treaty with South Korea. And for the thousands of travelers who stay in luxury suites around the world, the story of the presidential suite serves as a grim reminder that sometimes the true price of luxury can include the unwitting exposure of one's privacy to unknown predatory eyes. The Nakamura's case joins other documented incidents of hidden cameras in hotels, such as the 2019 Minneapolis case, where recording devices were found at the Hyatt Regency, and the 2018 scandal in Seoul, where hidden cameras in 30 hotels streamed live to subscribers over the internet, confirming that this is not an isolated occurrence, but part of a growing global problem. The frequent guest, the Blackwood Hotel case, was documented by Police Scotland as one of the most disturbing incidents involving frequent guests in the country's recent history. The events of those 6 months were reconstructed from employee statements, forensic evidence, and hotel records. Moira Campbell, a 42-year-old chambermaid, had worked at Blackwood for more than a decade. The Victorian Hotel, located in Edinburgh's historic centre, was known for its imposing architecture and thick stone walls. Among the regular guests, one in particular caught the staff's attention, Mr. James Harrington, a middle-aged man who posed as an antique dealer. He came every 3 weeks, always from Thursday to Sunday, and insisted on room 412, reported Moira. He said he was superstitious about rooms and routines. Mr. Harrington was polite, left generous tips, and rarely ordered room service. His only requirement was that cleaning be done only when he was away, claiming that he worked with delicate objects. He always brought with him 2 or 3 large and heavy suitcases, which he carried alone, refusing help from the porters. "At first we thought they were just antiques for some local fair," explained Thomas Reed, hotel manager. "Many dealers use our hotel during art and antiques events." The first anomaly was noticed by Moira in July, when she found plaster residue and brick dust in the bathroom of room 412. When reporting to the manager, she was informed that Mr. Harrington had mentioned a minor accident with an object he was carrying. On subsequent visits, Moira began to notice subtle changes in the room. The closet appeared slightly smaller on the inside, the baseboard on one wall had been repositioned, and the carpet near the outside wall had barely noticeable cut marks. "That's when I noticed that the wallpaper had a seam that hadn't been there before," said Moira. "It looked like someone had removed and replaced an entire section." Intrigued, Moira began discreetly documenting the changes. During Harrington's visit in August, she found small fragments of electrical wires and a specialized hardware receipt. In the room's trash, the receipt listed items such as hidden hinges, internal locks, and sound insulation. Worried, she shared her findings with Claire, another chambermaid. Together, they decided to investigate further during Harrington's next stay. In September, when he left for an appointment, the 2 of them carefully examined the room. "Claire pressed on different spots on the wall while I watched," reported Moira. "When she pushed a certain spot near the closet, we heard a click. A section of the wall moved slightly. With difficulty, they managed to open what turned out to be a camouflaged panel, giving access to a narrow space between the walls. What they found chilled their blood. A compartment measuring approximately 2 meters square, equipped with handcuffs fixed to the wall, a thin mattress, an improvised ventilation system, and a small camera connected to a transmitter. It was captivity, said Moira, shaking as she remembered, built gradually, visit after visit, within the structure of the hotel itself. The maids immediately alerted management, who contacted the police. When Harrington returned, he was discreetly monitored while investigators verified his identity. They discovered that James Harrington was a false name. The man was actually Peter Simmons, wanted in unsolved disappearances in Manchester and Leeds. A search of his vehicle revealed restraint equipment, sedatives, a female wig, and false documents. On his phone, they found photos of young women in Edinburgh, apparently taken without the knowledge of the victims, including hotel staff and guests. The subsequent investigation revealed a disturbing pattern. Simmons had stayed in other historic hotels across the United Kingdom over the past 3 years. More alarmingly, police found evidence that Simmons planned to kidnap Emma, a young Blackwood receptionist, the following week. His plan, detailed in coded notes, was to lure her to room 412 with a false call for service, keep her in the hidden compartment for days, and eventually transport her in one of his large suitcases, modified internally for the purpose. For Moira Campbell and the staff at Blackwood, the experience left deep scars. The most disturbing thing, Moira reflected, was realizing that he had been building it right under our noses, patiently for months. He smiled at us every day, knowing exactly what he was planning. The case has led to a review of security policies at historic hotels across Scotland, with new requirements for regular inspections of rooms, often booked by the same guests, and stricter checking of identities. And for the thousands of hotel employees who interact with frequent guests. Every day, the story of frequent guest serves as a grim reminder that sometimes familiarity and generous tips can mask deeply disturbing intentions, and that old walls can hide much newer, more sinister secrets. Peter Simmons was charged with multiple crimes, including attempted kidnapping, criminal misrepresentation, and property damage. The investigation into his connection to previous disappearances remains ongoing, with authorities from 3 counties collaborating to map his activities over the past 5 years. Hot Springs, the Pinnacle Springs Resort case, was documented by the Arkansas Department of Health, ADH, as one of the most disturbing hot spring incidents in recent United States history. The events of those 7 days were reconstructed from statements from affected guests, laboratory evidence, and medical records. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a CDC epidemiologist, arrived at the luxury resort for a week of respite after months of leading investigations into infectious outbreaks. The establishment, built around natural hot springs, attracted visitors with promises of healing properties and exclusive spa treatments. From the first day, I noticed something strange, Elena later reported. The owner, Mr. Maxwell, seemed overly interested in which pools guests frequented and how long they stayed in the water. On the 2nd day of her stay, Elena observed an unusual pattern. Several guests, mainly elderly, began to show respiratory symptoms: a dry cough, difficulty breathing, and a low-grade fever. Resort staff attributed the symptoms to normal detox reactions or the humid climate of the region. As an epidemiologist, I immediately suspected something in the waters, explained Elena, especially because symptoms only appeared in people who had used certain thermal pools, particularly those kept at lower temperatures. Discreetly, Elena began collecting information, mapping which guests used which facilities and when symptoms began. He noticed that pools with temperatures between 75 degrees and 95 degrees, 24 degrees C, 35 degrees CC, were associated with the majority of cases, while those kept above 131 degrees C, 55 degrees CC, did not appear to cause problems. His suspicions grew when he noticed employees taking water samples at specific times and recording information about guests on tablets. Using her CDC credential, Elena was able to access the reservation system and discovered a disturbing pattern. Guests with pre-existing medical conditions were systematically directed to certain pools and treatments. On the third night, Elena witnessed Maxwell and a man in a white coat entering a restricted area near the pool's engine room. Following them discreetly, he saw them adjusting equipment connected to the water distribution system and consulting graphs that clearly showed infection rates. "That's when I realized it wasn't just neglect," Elena said. "It was deliberate." Using her knowledge of aquatic pathogens, Elena immediately suspected Legionella, a bacteria that thrives in waters maintained between 77 degrees and 108 degrees. 25 degrees to 42 degrees, and causes a severe form of pneumonia known as Legionnaire's disease. Elderly people and those with compromised immune systems are particularly vulnerable, exactly the profile of many resort guests. With the help of a suspicious employee, Elena collected water samples from the different pools and sent them for analysis to an independent laboratory. Using her contact at the CDC, the results confirmed their suspicions. High levels of Legionella pneumophila were detected in the moderate temperature pools. More disturbingly, the samples revealed an unusual strain of Legionella, genetically engineered to resist conventional treatment methods. This explained why the resort's ozone systems and other disinfectants did not eliminate the bacteria. Elena discovered a forgotten laptop in the control room during a clandestine inspection. The files revealed the shocking truth. Maxwell, a previously discredited microbiology researcher, was conducting unauthorized experiments on the transmission and virulence of engineered strains of Legionella. He meticulously documented infection rates, incubation periods, and symptom severity across different With enough evidence, Elena simultaneously contacted the Arkansas Department of Health, the FBI, and the National Park Service, which oversees hot springs in the region. A coordinated operation resulted in the immediate closure of the resort and the arrest of Maxwell and 2 accomplices. The subsequent investigation revealed that the scheme had been operating for at least 18 months. Maxwell had acquired the resort after losing his academic funding due to ethical violations in previous research. Using his background in microbiology, he developed a private research program that offered data on resistant pathogens to pharmaceutical companies and government agencies without revealing his collection methods. For the 37 guests who developed symptoms, the resort provided full medical treatment and financial compensation as part of a legal settlement. Fortunately, due to rapid intervention, there were no deaths, although 5 people required prolonged hospitalization. The case led to a national review of safety protocols at hot spring resorts, with new regulations requiring frequent testing for pathogens and greater transparency about water treatment methods. For Dr. Elena Vasquez, the experience reinforced the need for constant vigilance. What was most disturbing, she reflected, was how something seemingly beneficial, medicinal, hot springs, was perverted for experimental purposes, exploiting people's trust in a healing environment. The hot springs story joined other documented cases of unethical experimentation in medical and wellness facilities, reminding us that the line between treatment and experimentation can be dangerously blurred when proper oversight is absent. The abandoned Hotel Miguel, Lucas, Anna, and Carla, Four friends traveling through Southeast Asia were driving along a secondary road between Yangon and Mandalay when they were surprised by a tropical storm of unexpected intensity. With the road quickly becoming impassable and no cell phone reception to seek help, the group spotted what appeared to be an abandoned hotel on the side of the road. "It seemed like our only option," Miguel later reported. "The rain was so heavy that we could barely see, and the hotel, although visibly deteriorated, was still structurally sound." The building, a three-story former colonial hotel, had broken windows, vegetation growing over the walls, and an air of neglect that suggested years without maintenance. As they entered the dusty lobby, they noticed something strange. Despite its external appearance, the interior was relatively clean, with few signs of natural deterioration. "It was the first sign that something wasn't right," said Anna. "A truly abandoned place would have more dirt, more destruction. This one seemed maintained somehow." As they explored the ground floor in search of a dry place to spend the night, Lucas noticed fresh marks on the dusty floor, footprints coming and going from a back door. Carla found a generator that appeared functional, although turned off, and Miguel discovered a pantry with recent supplies. "There were canned foods with current expiration dates," he explained. "At that point, we should have left immediately, but the storm had gotten worse, and it was already dark." The group decided to remain in the lobby, close to the entrance, keeping watch shifts during the night. At around 3 a.m., Anna, who was on guard duty, heard the sound of an engine approaching. Through the broken windows, he saw a truck stopping at the back of the hotel. Men got out and began unloading what appeared to be people, staggering figures, possibly sedated or tied up. Quietly waking the others, the group hid behind the reception desk, where they witnessed a disturbing scene: 6 people, visibly disoriented, being led by armed men through the lobby to a door leading to the basement. "They spoke in several languages," Carla whispered. "I heard Thai, Mandarin, and even Portuguese. One of them clearly said, 'More merchandise for KK Park.'" Realizing the danger, the group tried to escape discreetly, but was discovered by one of the traffickers who was returning to the truck. Over the next few minutes, they were chased through the hotel, eventually captured and taken to the basement, where they discovered the true nature of the operation. The abandoned hotel served as a transit point for an extensive human trafficking network. In the basement, they found more than 20 people of different nationalities, including 2 Brazilians, Lucas and Felipe, who had been there for 3 days. All had been lured by false promises of jobs in technology or hospitality, only to be kidnapped and transported to scam factories in areas controlled by paramilitary groups on the Thai border. "They told us everything," Lucas reported. The scheme was elaborate. Online recruiters would offer legitimate jobs, buy tickets, and when the victims arrived, they would be kidnapped, drugged, and transported to this hotel. From there, they would be taken to KK Park, where they would be forced to carry out online scams or sexually exploited. The captors coldly explained that the group would be separated. Miguel and Lucas would go to the scam factory, while Inna and Carla would be sent to another type of work. Their passports were confiscated, and they were told they owed a debt of $30,000 each for transportation and accommodation costs. During the second night of captivity, while most of the guards were busy with the arrival of new victims, Miguel managed to free Lucas's bonds using a piece of metal found on the basement floor. Together, they freed the others and devised an escape. In plan, it was Lucas who suggested contacting the NGO The Exodus Road, explained Carla. He had managed to hide a small phone and knew the organization had operations in the region. Using the hidden phone, they were able to send a message with their approximate location. The answer came hours later. They should be ready to flee the following morning, when a rescue team, in coordination with local forces, would intervene. The rescue operation was tense and chaotic, taking advantage of a distraction caused by the NGO team at the main entrance. The group managed to escape through a basement window, running through the adjacent forest until they found the rescue vehicles. The subsequent investigation revealed the true extent of the operation. The hotel was just one of several transit points used by the chain, which operated in multiple Southeast Asian countries. Victims were carefully selected, often people without strong family ties, traveling alone or attracted by job opportunities that seemed legitimate. For Miguel, Lucas, Anna, and Carla, the experience left deep scars. The most disturbing thing, Anna reflected, was realizing how vulnerable we were. We were literally hours away from disappearing completely, from becoming statistics in some missing persons report. The case led to an international operation that resulted in the rescue of hundreds of victims and the arrest of dozens of traffickers. However, authorities believe that similar operations remain active in the region, adapting and changing locations regularly. And for the thousands of travelers exploring Southeast Asia's lesser-known routes, the story of the abandoned hotel serves as a grim reminder that sometimes apparent refuge can be the gateway to a nightmare few can escape. And so we come to the end of our 7 horror stories involving hotels. So, what did you think? Which story gave you the most goosebumps? Will any of them make you check under the bed at your next stay? Tell me in the comments which one was your favorite. If you enjoyed this dive into the terrifying world of hotels, don't forget to leave a like. This really helps the channel grow and motivates me to keep bringing more scary content like this. And if you are not yet registered, take the opportunity now to sign up and activate the bell.